before I start telling you the object code generation and all, first for a few minutes, let us trace out about this program. So what is happening inside this program? If you see here, my dear students, the program is beginning. Where is the starting point of the program? In the sense, this is where the program is being started with the start assembler directive, and this is where the actually the program is ending with the end instruction. And if you guys can observe right here, this is the name of the program is copy, and 1000 is the starting address for that particular program. I repeat, copy is the name of the program and 1000 is the starting address for the program. And in this program, if you ever observe, my dear students, understand this clearly, we have the different instructions. We have the different instructions inside this program. Okay, so whereas the here is one of the instruction which is called as jsub read record rdrec, which is something like jump to the subroutine rdrec. I repeat, jump to the subroutine rdrec. Where is the rdrec? In the sense, you can observe rdrec is available right here. So you are jumping from here to the subroutine where it is defined somewhere else, which is at the rdrec. And my dear students, from this rdrec till you find the r sub, where is that r sub? Till here. This is where you are returning back. So you are returning back from here, from the subroutine back to the main routine from here through this r sub, which is return from the subroutine. In the same way, here is one more instruction which is j sub r wrrec, which is write record, we call it as, where you are jumping to some other. My dear students, try to understand, these are the subroutines where return back from here, for which you'll be having a r sub. What I'm trying to convey, these are the two subroutines from here to here. This is the one subroutine from here to here. This is what the two subroutines we have, and this is the main program. You can call it as a main routine or main program. You can call it as. It is as same as functions you will be using in a C program. You might have used this functions, right? So for achieving the specific task. So here also, for achieving the specific task, we are using the two routines, or you call as two subroutines, which are read record and the write record. Whereas here in the read record, we are trying to read the data, and write record we will be trying to put the data into the output device, for which itself we will be using the read record and the write record as two subroutines. I repeat, read record and the write record are the two subroutines which will be called from the main program. What is happening actually? If you guys try to understand, my dear students, if you guys ask me what is happening right here, in the sense, you this is the program which is written for some process. What is the process? Where you'll be start reading the data from the input device. So right here, just for a moment, for your understanding, what I will do. So just don't see this content. I'll just write some diagram. Just look into that diagram. See what is happening. I hope my PPT is visible to you all. If not, you guys can let me know. Okay, so PPT is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, see what is happening in the sense, here is the input device. Okay, here is the input device, so I'll call this as the input device. From the input device, you'll be reading the data. And I hope you also remembered that you can read only one byte at a time. This I told you so many times. You can read only one byte at a time, not more than one byte at a time. You'll be reading one byte at a time, and as soon as you read, what is going to happen, that byte whatever you read, which will be stored into the accumulate register. That data you'll be again pushing into the buffer. I call it as a record. Here you'll be pushing into the buffer, and here I'm calling it as a record. You understand this? Here I'll call it as a record. This is what the I'll say REC, which is for record, or the buffer. You may call it any name, my dear students. This is the, either you call it as a buffer or the record, no problem. So okay, for your understanding, let me only call it as a buffer itself, so that you may understand better. Yeah, so let me write it as a buffer, right? So what you are doing, you are reading the data from the input device and storing into the buffer. This is what I call it as a buff. which is for the buffer. But while reading, understand my dear students, while reading, what you are going to what you keep on reading the data when you'll be reading. So for that reading process itself, you are using this read record. I repeat, you'll be using this read record subroutine for reading process itself. You keep on reading the data. But when you'll be keep on reading the data, when you'll be reading the when you'll be keep on reading the data, whenever you read zero, whenever you read the zero, you understand this, you read the data and you keep putting the data, but whenever you read the data zero, so you stop reading process. I repeat, whenever you keep reading the data, you keep putting the buffer, you are also storing into the buffer as well. But whenever you come across with that red data is a zero, you will stop the reading process. This is what the reading process. When it comes to writing process as well, whatever is there in the buffer, understand carefully, my dear students. Whatever it is there in the buffer, that you are going to write into the output device. This is what the output device, I call it as a O, output device. Output device. Whereas as usual, from the buffer, first you should bring into the A, which is what is the accumulator register. First you should bring in the accumulator register, then only you can write it to the output device. But here, while doing this output process, while you will be writing the data to the output device, I'll understand some logic right here. You will not only be writing the data from the buffer into the output device, you will also be writing something else which is called as EOF, which says that is the end of file. So understand, my dear. Say for example, while reading, if you are read as this example, I'm just taking an example. If you read the content as an example, which is EXAMPLE, that will be stored into the buffer. And then later, if you read O, so it will be O is nothing as zero, actually not O, zero. As soon as you read zero, so input is stopped. So what is read right now from the input device? It is the example. Where is it right now? It is in the buffer. Now when I go to the output writing process, when I go to the writing the data to the output device, at that time I'll be reading as example followed by EOF. I repeat, I'll be reading example followed by EOF. EOF stands for end of file. Per suppose, while reading the data, my dear students, while reading the data, the first character itself is zero. The first character itself is zero. It means to say that you are not going to continue any reading process. So what is read in the input device? What is read in the input device? It is null. Nothing is read. So at the time, buffer is nothing. There is nothing in the buffer. At that time also, you will be reading the data to the output device. But what you will be reading right now? You will be reading only EOF. Understand, my dear? While reading the data, you keep reading one character at a time. But at the time of reading, if you come across if you read any zero, you will be stopping the input process. And whatever you read, it is there in the buffer. And while writing that data to the output device, you write that data and followed by UOF to the output device. Per suppose, while reading, the first character itself is zero, so reading process will be stopped there itself. So it means to say that you did not read anything from the input device. In such case where you did not read anything, also at that time also you will be reading something to the output device, which is nothing else than the EOF, which is end of file. So what I'm trying to convey, you read something, write that something with the EOF to the output device. If you don't read anything, then also you write EOF to the output device. So that's what the two process, which is called as input process and output process, for which we have the two subroutines, which is read record and the write record. Read record for reading the data from the input device, and write record for writing the data to the output device. Students, are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This theory analogy you're supposed to understand, then only you can actually understand the logic, right? So if you're before I get to the program, so I hope you understand. If not, also within just a minute. So what we are doing in the sense, you keep on reading the data from the input device. Whenever you come across zero, you stop the reading process. Whatever you read, that data you put it in the buffer. Then when you go to the writing process, you write that content present in the buffer to the output device, and also you write EOF at the end of the file. once after you're done with the writing. So when the case study something like you did not read anything, when can you occur that you did not read anything, in the sense when while reading, if the first character itself is zero, you will stop the reading process at that moment itself. So it means to say that you did not read or you did not read anything from the input device. In such case also you must write EOF to the output device. This is the analogy. For that, let me show you the program. Here is a program. You can observe, my dear students, here is a program. At the beginning itself, so you'll be storing STL return address. For what? For L. I hope you remembered L is stands for the linkage register to store the return address. So you'll be, before you jump to the read record, you'll be putting that STL, which is the address present in the linkage register, that will be putting into the return address. Then you are jumping to where? JSF read record, to where you are jumping to the read record till here. You will come here, you will initialize X to the 0, accumulator to the 0, index register and accumulator register both are initialized to the 0. Then you have to read, right? Because read record is meant for what? Reading process. So for, and also I hope this is what reading process, which is RD input is what we have defined, that input device number with F1. I hope you remember this also. Input device number is F1, output device number is 05. So you'll start reading the data from the input device, but when if the device is available for input process. So for that itself will be testing the device. That's what you test the device. If it is not equal, if it is equal, you have to jump back to the loop itself and you keep on doing this itself until the device is ready. Once the device is ready, then you read the data. Once the device is ready, then you read the data. As soon as you read the data, you compare, is it 0? You compare, is it 0? If it is 0, you don't have to write that to the buffer. You directly go into the exit. That's what jump if equal to the exit. What is there in the exit? That will I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later what is there in the exit. But as of now, if it is 0, you will never write that content to the buffer. If it is not 0, that's what, if this condition fails. When this condition fails, that read data is not 0. Whatever the data you write, it is not 0. If in such case you push that content onto the buffer wherever it is indexed by X. In turn, what is this buffer? For that buffer, you can observe right here, we have initialized almost 4096 bytes of space for the buffer. We have initialized 4096 bytes of memory space for the buffer. That's what buffer RESB, reserve bytes 4096. So what we are doing, my dear students, you are reading the data. I repeat, you are testing the device. If the device is ready, you read the data from the input device. Compare, is it 0? If it is 0, you don't write that to the buffer. You directly go to the exit. You jump to the exit. That's what JEQ exit. You will come to the exit directly. If it is not 0, then you write that to the buffer. That's what you store that character to the buffer wherever it is pointed by X. Initially X is initialized to 0. Further you'll be incrementing X. Further you'll be incrementing X and comparing with the max length. What is this max length? For the max length, we have initialized the value as 4096, thinking that maximum number of characters you'll be trying to read, it is of 4096 characters. I repeat, 4096 bytes of characters, because as you'll be reading 4096 characters, so you initialize the max length with the 4096. My dear students, don't get confused. This 4096 with the buffer, it is a memory space allocation, which is reserved byte, where you will be putting the characters whatever you read. Whereas this max length is how many characters you want to read. So only it is declared with the max length word 4096. So you increment the X and compare with the max length. If it is less than that max length, which is less than, X is less than max length, you jump back to the R loop. If it is less than max length, you jump back to the R loop and try to read the next character. But before reading next character, again as usual, test the device. If the device is ready, read the character. If that character is non-zero, then you only put it to the buffer. If it is 0 value, then jump to the exit. But what we are doing in the exit, my dear students? What we are doing in the exit, in the sense we are doing something else, nothing else than the STX length. what is this? What is happening in the sense? Because every time you are keep on incrementing the x, I repeat, every time you are keep on incrementing the x, when you are done with the, I repeat, when you are done with the reading process, the current value of x says that how many characters you read, because initially x is initialized with the 0. As x is initialized with the 0 and you are keep on incrementing, the x for every character you read from the input device and put it into the buffer. As you are keep on incrementing the value of x for every character you read and put into the buffer, so whenever you stop the reading process, that x is the one which will give you the maximum number of characters, or the number of characters you read and which are available in the buffer, which is nothing else than the length of the input data. So the x value which you are storing into the variable, which is length. I repeat, length is a variable. Okay, length is a variable that is to hold the number of characters you read from the input device. So this is the read record process. So I repeat, what we are doing in the read record process, we initialize x and the accumulator to the initialize to the 0. Then you test the input device. If the device is ready, then only you go for the read process. If the device is not ready, you will never go for the read process. Once after you read the character, that character will be checking whether that is a zero character, 0 or non-zero. If it is 0, then you are not supposed to write that to the buffer. You need to stop the reading process. For that itself, will be jumping to the exit. And if it is non-zero, then you'll be reading that into the character buffer, then increment the x and jump back and do the same process. And maximum number of bytes you are storing here, we are restricting to be a 4096 bytes, 4096 characters. Whereas here, very important thing you have to understand, that for every character you read and put it into the buffer, you will be incrementing the x. So finally, x is the one which will give you the how many characters you read and how many characters you stored. That's what, how many characters you read from the input device and put in the buffer. So x itself is, in the other way, it will give you the length of the input data. I repeat, x will give you the length of the input data. So my dear students, right now, length, variable length has the length of the input data which is available in the buffer. Now say for example, if my input data, if I am giving the input data, if I'm giving the input data as what, I'm giving the data as like this. I'll give r, first I give an r, then I give the input data as v, I gave the input data as v, again I gave the input data as e, v, reva, then I gave the input data as, this is not o, this is 0. I gave the input data as 0. Now can anyone of you let me know which are all the characters that are there in the buffer? My input data is reva 0.
REVA.
So the content present in the buffer is reva. And what is the length?
4.
Actually the length is not exactly the 4, it is 3.
4, sir.
It is 3 because you are starting from, okay, so index, yeah, that's quite good. Yes, quite good. The length is 4, sorry, length is 4, where it is start from 0 to 3. That's true. So length is 4. So my dear students, when you are keep on reading the data from the input device, you keep on checking whether that 0 data or not. When you when you come across 0 data, you will never continue the reading process. You'll stop it, and how many characters you read, that you'll be putting into the buffer, and you stop the what, you stop that reading process, right? And that maximum, how many characters you read, which is nothing else than the length, that you itself is, because every time you will be incrementing the value of x, and the x itself will give the length which you are putting into the variable length, right? Now you are returning back from the subroutine. From here to, you are jumping back to the main routine or the main program. Now if you ever observe it, as you came back to the came back to this ldl length, you came back to this place, you came back to this instruction, because this is the next instruction after this jump. So you came back to this ldl length, and what you are doing, ldl length, it means to say that the current value of length you are putting into where, you are putting into the accumulator register. I try to understand, my dear students. you are placing the current value of length. In my example, the length could be 4 because 4 characters you read, which is REVA. Now here the length, which is 4, length is 4, that you are pushing into where? To the accumulator register. The value 4 you are pushing to the accumulator register. Then you are comparing with the 0. Why you are comparing with the 0 in the sense? Because while in the diagram itself, when I shown you, I told you clearly that while reading the data, there may be the possibility that the first character itself may be 0. If the first value itself is 0, you will never read anything. It means to say that buffer contains nothing. When the buffer contains nothing, at that time, what you will be rating to the output device? You will be rating only EOF. Is it clear? When you will be reading the data from the input device, if the first value itself is 0, it means to say that you will stop the input process there itself without reading anything. So buffer contains nothing. In such case also, you should write the data which is EOF to the output device. If per suppose if you read something and in between if you come across with the 0, in such case buffer will be having something, and what you will be reading to the output, that something with the UOF. For that purpose, you are need to check whether you did you read something or nothing, whether 0 has encountered the beginning itself or in between. So for that purpose, you'll be pushing the you'll be loading the length value to the accumulator register and comparing with what? Comparing with the 0. If both are same, that's what jump if equal. If accumulator value, whatever the length value, whatever you put into the accumulator, if that is equal to 0, it means to say that you did not read anything from the input device. You did not read anything in the input, anything from the input device. In such case, you will directly jump to the end fill. That's what he will directly jump to here. I repeat, you'll directly jump here. Okay, you'll directly jump here, and once you jump here, what you are going to do in the sense, you'll be storing that to the accumulator register. You'll be storing EOF. But what is that EOF in the sense? You can observe for the EOF you already initialized EOF. I repeat, for the UOF, you already initialize UOF. What is this UOF? What is this UOF in the sense which are those are the three characters, which is E, O, and the F, and that itself you will be putting into the buffer. And as there are three characters, which is UOF, so length value we are going to initialize that to be a 3. That's what you will be putting the 3 to the LDL3, which is you will be putting the value 3 into the accumulator. Then you will be pushing that to the length. Then you will be calling the write record. When you, so my dear students, I hope you are understanding. When we are calling this end file in the sense, only when you encounter the position, or only when we encounter the scenario where you did not read anything from the input device. In such case, you have to write UOF, which is end of file. In such case only, you are going to this end file, you are putting that UOF into the buffer via accumulator. Again, 3 is initialized to the length via accumulator, because 3, why 3 means, because 3 is, you can see 3 is initialized with 3. Why the value 3 in the sense? Because you want to read 3 characters, sorry, you want to write 3 characters which are EOF. How many characters you want to write? It is only EOF. But per suppose if I take up my own example, which is REVA, in such case length is 4, so which is not equal to 0. So in such case I will never go to that end file. I'll never go to this end file. I'll go to where JSub write record. That's what I'll be jumping to here to write what? To write REVA. Try to understand. When your buffer has something, you need to write that something. When your buffer has nothing, I repeat, if your buffer has nothing, in such case you need to write UOF. Right? And what we are writing, what we are doing in the write record, if you observe, we are initializing as usual, initialize the x to the 0, then test the output device. If the device bit is equal, then jump back to the wloop itself and keep testing until the device is ready. If the device is ready, bring that character which you want to write from where? From the buffer. Bring the character from the buffer to the accumulator register, then write to the output device. Once you write the output device, then you need to increment the x. I repeat, my dear student, you need to increment the value of x and comparing with what? You are not comparing with the max length, you are comparing with the just length. Whenever you take up the reading process, we compare with the max length, because the maximum number of characters you can read We initialized as 4096. But here you don't have to compare with the max length unit, because you'll be rating as many as characters which are available in the buffer, not 4096 always. Try to understand, when there are only REVA, there are only 4 characters in the buffer, why you want to repeat the rating process for 4096 times? Because the buffer has only the 4 characters. So while rating process, you need to compare with the number of characters present in the buffer, not with the maximum number of count or max, right? In that perspective itself, you'll be checking with the length. Once you check with the length, if it is less than, that's what, if you're not at written everything, then jump back to the W loop and keep continuing the same process, or keep repeating the same process until you are done with writing all the characters from the buffer onto the output device. Once after you're done with that, again you'll be jumping back. That's what returning back. I don't call it as jumping back, returning back from the subroutine back to the main program. I repeat, you will return back to the main program. That's what R sub. You will return back to the J C loop. You will return back to this J C loop and jump to the C loop. What is going to happen? You will be jumping to this C loop. So what is happening, my dear students? When you have something, when you read something from the input device, that data you'll be reading to the output device and continue the same process, because you'll be jumping to the C loop and same thing. It is as same as, my dear students. Try to understand. Try to understand. It is as same as. See how it is. How this scenario. How is the scenario in the sense? Per suppose if I start giving the input, if my input is this, if I give the input as Reva. Guys, am I audible and my PPT is visible?
Yes, sir.
So yes, if I start giving the input as REVA followed by, I'll give 0. This is not O, my dear. This is 0. Then it means to say that it will stop the input process here itself, and buffer contains what? REVA. That itself will be returned to the output device. Then again input process and output process is a continuous process. It is, you are not completely stopping your execution. It is a continuous. So then later you again it will go for the input process. Again you are giving something like, I am giving something like NAV, I'm just giving the example. I'm just different cases. I'll say that Naveen followed by, again I'll give 0. In such case, what happens? Again it will read, it is reading only Naveen, and again the rating is also Naveen. Again next, again it will, once after it writes Naveen to the output device, again it will ask for the input. In such case, you may give something like this: subroutine. So you may give this complete sentence: subroutine to write record from the buffer followed by 0. So what is going to happen? This content will be written to the buffer and it will be put it into the, it will be printed onto the output device also. So again, you see this is the first loop where you read the data Reva and write the data Reva. Second time you read the data Naveen, write the data Naveen to the output device. Again third time you write the subroutine to the write record. This is the content: subroutine to write record from buffer, that you read from the input, write to the output device. Fourth time you, without giving any content, you directly gave 0. Repeat, you directly gave 0. In such case, nothing is in the buffer at the time. At least you have to print what? Buffer. At least you have to print what? Buffer. In such case, that's what in the fourth case, try to understand, my dear students. This is the 3 times, or 3 times, these 3 times. So in those 3 times, this end file will not be executed. You'll never come to this end file in those 3 cases, because in those 3 cases you are reading something which you are putting into the buffer, so that same thing itself is written to the output device. Whereas when it comes to the fourth case, you did not read anything, you are directly reading 0. It means that you did not read anything to the buffer. So in such case, so here length of the input device, length of the input data is 0. So you'll directly jump to the end file where you would like to print what? EOF. In such case only that EOF will be put into the buffer, and 3 will be considered as length of the data. Why 3 will be considered? Because EOF, it is 3 characters. So length of the characters to be written is considered to be a 3 characters. Guys, are you understanding? Let us generate the object code. So, but when you want to generate the object code, as usual, you know that we have the two passes. In the pass one, you have to assign the addresses. You have to start assigning the addresses. Then you need to generate the object code. For the point like assignment of addresses, definitely you have to know the starting address. What is the starting address here? It is the 1000 is the starting address. So let us start assigning the addresses. So for that itself, you can observe we have started assigning the 1000 is the starting address, but you can observe with the 1000 is the starting address which is assigned for the first instruction after the start. So then later, however, you know that I told you this so many times, like you have to classify the instructions in the program as assembler directive instructions and non-assembler directive instruction. For the non-assembler directive instructions, it is where we'll be allocating 3 bytes. The reason behind allocating 3 bytes means, so as we know that in the format in the SIC there is only one type of format, there is only one type of instructions in the SIC. So for all those what is the amount of memory space it is required in the sense just 3 bytes or 24 bits. So only you can observe my dear students, try to understand from here till here. So till here, these are all non-assembler directives. So only you just allocated 3 bytes to each instructions. Okay, till here it is only non-assembler directive instructions. So you started assigning the 3 bytes to each. So you can observe. So it is 1000, 1003, 6, 9, C, F, 12, 15, 18, 1B, 1E. It's just a means where we allocated 3 bytes to each. So you incremented only 3 bytes for the address. Then when it comes to the assembler directive instructions, again you can observe from here to here assembler directive instructions. Among these assembler directive instructions, again there is a difference, as from here to here it is a byte and word instructions. Did you remember, my dear students, in case of byte and word instruction? Yeah, you can observe right here. So even though these are the assembly directive instructions, in which again you have to make a classification into the byte and the word. If you ever remembered the previous examples, whatever we discussed, under this word, so for these word instructions, whatever the operand, irrespective of the operand, you will be allocating one word of memory space. That's what 3 bytes. So only you got 2D plus 3, it is a 30. 30 plus 3, it is a 33. So we will be allocating only 3 bytes to the word instructions irrespective of the operand. When it comes to byte, okay, when it comes to byte instructions, you can observe when it comes to byte instruction, you have to allocate the memory space purely based on the operand. And what is the operand here? It is the EOF, and that EOF, it is a character. EOF is what? 3 characters. So for the 3 characters, how much memory space is required? It's a 3 bytes, because for each character it is 1 byte. So there are 3 bytes. There are 3 characters. So it requires 3 bytes. So my dear students, what I'm trying to convey, understand clearly. So for the word instructions, irrespective, you see, you can, even if the word is 0, operand is 0 or 3 or 300 or 1000, whatever it can be. So you'll be allocating only 3 bytes. When it comes to byte instructions, you'll be allocating purely based on the operand. And here is the operand is what? EOF, which is 3 characters, and for each character you require 1 byte. I repeat, for each character you require 1 byte, and there are 3 characters, so it's a 3 bytes which will be allocating. So A plus 3, it is D. Okay. Next, coming to the reserve word. So reserve word and reserve byte, it is purely based on the operand. Here it is the reserve word 1. So it is 1 into 3. Why 3? One word is nothing else 3 bytes. So 1 into 3 is what? 3. So 3 bytes will be allocating. 3 plus 33 plus 3 is 36. Again say reserve word 1. So it is 1 into 3. The operand into 3. So 36 plus 3 is 39. When it comes to reserve byte 4096, my dear students, understand this clearly. This is where you have to use your brain. So reserve byte 4096. Can you guys tell me how many bytes we are going to allocate right now for this buffer reserve byte 4096? How many bytes we are going to reserve? Anybody? Do I have to do 4096 into 3? Yes, students? Guys, am I audible?
Okay.
Students, am I audible? Can you guys respond?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
So as this is a buffer reserved by 4096, do I have to multiply this by 3?
No, sir.
So you don't have to multiply by 3 because it's already in the bytes. So how many bytes you need to allocate? It is the 4096 bytes. I repeat, 4096 bytes you need to allocate. But when I say that you have to allocate 4096 bytes, again understand one more point. When I say that you have to allocate 4096 bytes, so it is something like 1039. For this 1039 you will be you have to add 4096. But my dear students, can you tell me this 1039 is a decimal or hexadecimal? From the addressing part, all these addresses are decimal or hexadecimal? Can anyone of you let me know?
Hexadecimal.
It's purely
Hexadecimal.
the, yes, it's the hexadecimal. But this 4096 is what? It's a decimal. Understand clearly. You will be allocating, yes, you will be allocating 4096 bytes, but 4096 you cannot add directly to the 1039. Why you can't add? In the sense 4096 in the decimal, whereas 1039 is the hexadecimal. So before you can add this 4096 to the 1039, you have to convert this 4096 to the hexadecimal. When you convert, my dear students, when you convert this 4096 to the hexadecimal, you will get 1000. I repeat, you will get 1000. And when you add this 1000 to the 1039, you will get what? 2039. Next address is 2039. Students, are you getting how you got the 2039 right there?
Yes, sir.
So my dear students, when it is byte, you allocate so much of memory space purely based on the operand, purely based on the length of the operand. When it comes to word, okay, when it comes to word, you have to allocate irrespective of the value. The value can be 3 or 0 or whatever it can be. Irrespective of the value, you need to allocate 3 bytes because it is a word instructions. When it comes to reserve word, whatever the operand you have, that into multiply. If it is 1 into 3 is 3 bytes. If it is 10 into 3 is 30 bytes. If it is 1000, you need to allocate 10,000 into 3 is 3000 bytes. So because it is a reserve word. When it comes to byte, you don't have to multiply with anything because this value is already in the bytes. 4096 is already in the byte representation, so you don't have to multiply with anything. But before you add this 4096 with the 1039, you have to convert to the hexadecimal because the address is in the hexadecimal and this value is in the operand is in the decimal. So you should convert that operand to the hexadecimal, then only you need to add with the 1039. So when you convert 4096 to the hexadecimal, you will get 1000. If you want, you can check out that. You will get 1000. I hope you know how to convert from decimal to the hexadecimal. If you do not know, so I can tell you, like, no problem. So if you say 4096, you have 4096. If you want to convert this to the hexadecimal, how to do it? It is by dividing by 16. When you divide by 16, it will be divided by exactly by 16 to the again 16 to the 36 and not 36, 32. Again left it with the yeah 16 5 is because from here itself it is 36 means 40 is left out, 32 80 is left out. Okay, 5 is again you will get 16 6 the remainder is 0. Again when you divide this 16, so when you divide that 256 divided by 16, so you can 16 itself is like 256, so remainder is 0. Again divide this by 16, so when you divide this, so it is 16 one times, so remainder is 0. So this is what 1000, which is 1000. 1000. That's why when you convert 4096 to the hexadecimal, you are getting as 1000, right? So that itself, when you add it to the 1039, you are getting what? 2039. I repeat, you are getting what? 2039. Understand, my dear students? Now from here again, as usual, you can observe again from here till this instruction, all these are non-assembler directive instructions. Understand, my dear students? So till from here till here again non-assembler directive instructions. So till here you keep allocating 3 bytes to each. So it is
Your screen
39.
is not visible, sir.
Yeah.
The screen is not visible for us. It's fully black.
Oh, is it? Is it for everybody? Is it not visible?
It's visible, sir.
It's
It's visible, sir.
sir.
Visible, sir.
Then check out your internet, my dear. So till here it is a non-assembly directive instructions. So you just allocate 3 bytes to each. Again, when it comes to this byte and the word instructions, these are assembly directive instructions. What did I say in case of byte? You have to first find out the length of the operand. Here, what is the operand? It is F1. And what are those data? It is a hexadecimal. How many values you have? It is F and the 1. There are 2 values. For 2 hexadecimal values, how many bytes are required? Anybody? For 2 hexadecimal numbers, how many bytes are required? Students, anybody? For 2 hexadecimal numbers, how much data is required or how much space is required?
1.
How much space? How
1
much
byte.
space? 1 byte, because each hexadecimal requires half byte. So there are 2 hexadecimal numbers, which is F and the 1. So it requires 1 byte. So only you can observe right here, D plus 1 is 3. Sorry, D plus 1 is E. You are adding only 1. So D 205D plus 1 is what? 205E. Then again, here you can observe word. In case of word, how much memory space you need to allocate? Anybody?
3.
It is max length word 4096. How much memory space you need to allocate?
4096 into 3.
How much memory space you need to allocate?
3.
4096 into 3.
Okay, that is where actually some only one person said the right answer and the other are going wrong. See, understand, these reserve word case, I told you the operand into 3 because it is a reserve word. In case of word, what did I say? It can be 3 or 0 or it can be 4096 or anything for that matter. You will be allocating only 3 bytes. So if it is instead of this word, if it is reserve word, in such case definitely it is 4096 into 3. If it is instead of word, if it is reserve word, then definitely instead of 4096 into 3, you have to do it because it is reserve word. But here it is only word. In case of word, irrespective of the operand, it can be 3 or the 0 or 4096 or 10,000, 1 lakh, whatever it can be. How much you need to allocate? Only 3 bytes only. You're getting my point, dear students?
Yes, sir.
Student, are you understanding me? So in this case, it is reserve byte 4096 because it is a reserve byte and reserve word. Whereas here it is a word instruction. So irrespective of the operand, you need to allocate only 3 bytes. So that is where you can observe 205E plus 3. It is 2061. When you add 205E, E plus 3 is what? 0, 1, F, 0 and 1. That is, you are getting us 2061. I hope you are getting my point. If anybody has any doubts, you can ask me, my dear students. Students, anybody has any doubts? Okay, so then again, let me go ahead again from in this subroutine. Again, you can see from here to here, it is all non-assembly directive instructions. These are non-assembly directive instructions. So you just keep allocating 3 bytes to each because the instruction length is of only 3 bytes. In case of SIC, so you just start allocating 3 bytes to each instruction. Okay, so you allocated 3 bytes to all the instructions. When it comes to again, here is the assembly directive instruction, which is byte and the end. At the assembly directive instructions, which is byte and the end. Again, what did you say in case of byte? First, you find out the length of the operand. Here, the length of the operand has 2. There are 2 values, which is 0 and the 5. There are 2 numbers. The operand has 2 numbers. And what numbers is that? What data is that? It is a hexadecimal. So, for 2 hexadecimal numbers, you require 1 byte. I repeat, for 2 hexadecimal numbers, you require 1 byte. So what would be the next address? It is 2079 plus 1. It could be 207A. 9 plus 1 is what? A. So my dear students, keep this in mind. So the last address for the program is what? 207A. The first address for the program is 1000. So based on that, can anyone of you let me know what is the length of the program? So the last address is 207A. The first address is 1000. What is the length of the program?
107A, sir.
So it is 207A. 207A is the last address in a program, last address of the program, whereas 1000 is the beginning address of a program. When you subtract the last address minus the first address, so you'll get the length of the program. So the length of the program is what? 107A. So you got the length of the program as what? 107A. Clear? Students, are you clear with this? The pass A, sorry, pass 1. Are you clear with the pass 1? How we generate? How we assign the addresses?
Yes, sir.
If you are clear with this, then let me take you to the pass 2, where we will be generating the object code and the object program. So let me take you to that. For that, so you can observe. Before that, let me delete this. Yeah, you can observe. So this is where I'll start generating. Give you the simple way of finding out the object code. Okay, especially in SIC only this works only in SIC, mind it, not in SIC XE. So right now, if you take up per suppose, like however media students, if you remembered, we had a instruction format, like we had something like this. So we had opcode of 8 bits, again x followed by the we had address of 15 bits. So the same way you have to work out, but in a shortcut way. In a shortcut way, so 8 bytes, which is purely the 8 bits, not bytes. 8 bits, it's purely the opcode, which is not defined by you. It is already available. Then you have x. What is the what is this? It is the index register, and followed by the address. So this is what the address means. It is the address of the operand, and it is of 15 bits. I told you this is of 15 bits. And again, my dear students, so whenever the program is given like this for you guys, you yourself can easily understand if you are if you really worked out. So here I said you that the wherever you have the opcode followed by the x followed by the address. So in this case study, you can, if you see here, the opcode anyhow it will be given. You don't have to do with anything. So again, when it comes to x, so based on which you will be varying the addressing mode, like a direct addressing mode or the indexed addressing mode. So there will be a variation with respect to the direct or the indexed addressing mode. So if you observe right here, my dear students, throughout this program, in all these instructions, if you observe right here, in all these instructions, you are nowhere you are using the indexed addressing mode. I mean to say, you are nowhere using the X register. Understand? You are nowhere using the X register. So no, all these instructions are belongs to direct only. So for all these instructions, so definitely the X is set to as what? 0. My dear students, so because the opcode field, what is the opcode field of opcode field for the STL? We have separate opcode JSUB, LDA, COMP, JEQ, JSUB, J. All that you will be having a separate opcode which is of 8 bits. All of you know that. Then coming to the X, so it is purely based on the utilization of index. So whereas here you're not using any X register right here, so X will be set for all these instructions. Okay, when it comes to the address, I repeat, when it comes to the address, so for the first case, like when you say the STL return address, so here the operand, I repeat, it is a purely the operand address. So what is the operand here? It is a return address. RETADR is the operand. What is the address of that? You need to find out. So here is the RETADR, which will be having the address. That will be the address, which is the operand address. In the same way, for the when you say RDREC, it has its own address right here. Okay, again you say length also has its own address right here, 0. So like this, if you can able to observe right here, every operand in the program will be acting as a label somewhere else in the program, right? If you observe right here, like stx length, this length is a variable. Here it is operand which is acting as a label at this location, so which will be having its own address. Understand, my dear students. Again, when you take up LDX 0, 0 is the operand which will be acting as a label somewhere here. Are you getting, my dear students? Operand in your program will be acting as a label in one or the other instruction. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
when it is acting as a label in the one or the other way, one or the other location of your program, which will be having its own address. So that address itself you need to consider as a operand address, whereas that address you need to put it in the form of a 15 bits instead of 16 bits, right? So in the field of your opcode x and the address, when the x is 0, so definitely the address will never change. Address will never change, will be remain same. But when it comes to the, you can take up all these which are all belongs to the direct addressing only, where x is 0, whereas here are the two instructions. There are only two instructions. The first one is this stch buffer comma x, for which x will be set as 1. And what is the operand address? It is a buffer address. Where is the buffer? Buffer is defined somewhere else, somewhere here. The address of the buffer will be acting as an operand address, and the value of x, you need to set it as 1. I repeat, the value of x you need to set it as 1. In the same way, you have one more instruction which is ldch buffer comma x. LDCH buffer comma x. I repeat, my dear students, this throughout in this program only this STCH buffer comma x and also LDCH buffer comma x, and only for these two instructions x will be set as 1. Rest, because those are belongs to the index addressing mode. Rest all other instructions are belongs to the direct addressing mode, for which x you will be setting the x as 0. I repeat, for which for rest will be setting purely the x as 0. So my dear students, let me repeat again. Whenever you take up such kind of SIC program, so anyhow opcode will be given, and when you take up x, you need to just make sure that whether x you need to set as 1 or the 0. It's purely based on, I repeat, it's purely based on the utilization of a index register in the instruction. So see, my dear students, it doesn't mean to say that here it is LDX 0. You can't say that you are utilizing x register, so why not it is a index register? No. So keep in mind, this is where you'll be utilizing actually x register. This is in the operand field. I repeat, in the operand field of your instruction, if you are using x register, then only it is index addressing mode. It is not like this LDX 0. LDX 0 is not the index addressing mode. It is the direct addressing mode itself. Right? Again, if you ask me, this is x. No, this is not the x for indexing. It is the hexadecimal. Okay, I'm just telling you all the consequences. If you say anyhow x is here, so is it not index addressing mode? Never. It is only just to specify that it is a hexadecimal value, right? So I hope you are getting my point, my dear students. So among all these instructions, you need to categorize which are all the instructions belongs to direct addressing mode, for which you'll be setting x as 0, and which are all the instructions belongs to index addressing mode, for which you'll be setting x as 1. Whereas opcode anyhow it will be given, and there is a address field which is the operand address. So operand in every instruction, I repeat, operand in every instruction will be acting as the label at one or the other location. Say for example, here is a TD input. I repeat, TD input, where TD output, whereas output is the operand which is acting as a label somewhere else here. Understand, my dear? Again, you have something like, you say JEQ R loop, whereas here R loop is the operand which is acting as a label somewhere here. So my dear students, so all these itself will be updating in the symbol table. But as of now, try to understand, operand in any instruction will be acting as a label in one or the other instruction. So the address of that itself, you need to fetch it and use it at the time of object code generation. Guys, is it clear till here?
Yes, sir.
Now let me take you to the object code generation. So however, we are done with the address finding, its address allocation, which we are done with the pass 1 of your assembler. Now I'll be taking you to the pass 2 of your assembler, right? So when I take you to the pass 2 of assembler, as usual, there is no object code for the start instruction, and there is no object code for the end instruction. So no object code for the start and the end instruction. When I take up this STL return address, understand, my dear students, the opcode of the STL is 14. Understand, in this object code, these are about the opcodes. Is it visible whatever I am writing on the writing on my screen, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So opcode for the STL is 14, and the return address and as usual I already told you for all these instructions the X is 0, and what is the operand here? It is RET-ADR. RET-ADR is the operand, and what is the address of that? You can find it here. It is 1033. So when you put together the object code, you are getting as 141033. Same way for JSON RDREC. JSON opcode of the JSON is what? 48. Opcode of the JSON is what? 48, and RDREC is somewhere here, whereas the address of that is 2039. So you got 482039. Again you have LDL length. The opcode of LDA is what? 00, and length you have somewhere here it is. So the address of that length is what? 1036. Again you have COMP. The address of the opcode of the COMP is what? 28, whereas operand is 0. Somewhere here the address of which is 1030. Same way you need to keep continuing. So for any instruction you take up LDL return address. The opcode of LDL is what? 08, and you have RET-ADR 1033. So you got 081033. When you take up RSUB, my dear students, understand this carefully. When you take up RSUB, the opcode of RSUB is what? 4C. Opcode of RSUB is 4C. And do we have any operand right here? My dear students, do you have any operand in the instruction?
No, sir.
When you do not have the operand in the instruction, when you do not have the operand, well, then what is the address? So the address is zeros. So you got 4C 000. Guys, did you get till here?
Yes, sir.
So object code of the RSUB is what? 4C000, because the opcode of the RSUB is what? 4C, and there is no operand here. So when there is no operand, so definitely the address of the operand is zeros. So that is where you are getting us 4C. Okay, and I hope you are clear till the object code generation for the RSUB, where the opcode of the RSUB is 4C and there is no operand here. So the address of the operand is purely the zeros. Then followed by, now let us take up the next instruction, which is a byte instruction. If you ever remembered, my dear students, if you ever remembered, even in our previous examples also we have considered such kind of byte instructions. The object code for the byte instruction is the operand itself. I repeat, object code for the word and the byte instructions. I repeat, the object code for the byte and the word instructions is the operand itself. So in case of the byte the operand is, what is the operand here? It is EOF. So what is EOF? So how can you consider those itself as the object code? So you have to consider the ASCII of the EOF. So ASCII of E, it is 45. ASCII of O, it is 4F, and ASCII of F is what? 46. I repeat, ASCII of EOF, it is 445, 4F and 46 will be the object code for EOF. So my dear students, the byte, in case of byte instructions, the operand itself will be acting as the object code. So you even here also you have word 0 and the 3. So I tell you, in case of byte and the word instructions, the operand, in case of byte and the word instructions, operand itself will be acting as the object code. So EOF itself will be acting as object code, where the ASCII of EOF, it is 45, 4F and 46. In the same way, 3, you can see 3 itself will be the object code, whereas 0 itself will be in the object code, but you should write in the 3 bytes, because you allocated 3 bytes for these, because you allocated 3 bytes to them. So you are writing in the 3 bytes form. When it comes to reserve byte and reserve word, there is no object code, because it's only the means of allocation of just an empty space. You're just allocating the empty space where what is to be stored you don't know, because it is only allocation of empty space. So there is no object code for the reserve word and reserve byte. Clear? So there is no object code for the reserve byte and reserve word instructions, whereas there is the object code for the byte and the word instructions, whereas operand itself will be acting as the object code in case of byte and the word instructions. Clear, guys, still here, students?
Yes, sir.
So if you are clear with this, again let me take up the next read record. Again under the read record also same way. So from here to here, all these are direct addressing mode, you can observe. So all these are the opcodes. I'm just writing here All these are the opcodes, which are, whereas LDX it is 04 followed by address of 0. Where is 0? 0 is here, which is address of which is 1030. So you got 041030. Again LDA, the opcode of LDA is 00 and the address of 0 is 1030. So you got 001030. Again you have TD input. The opcode of TD is what? E0. Opcode of TD is E0 and the input you have somewhere here, the address of that input is 205D. So you got E0205D. Like that you will be generating the object code till here. When it comes to this STCH buffer comma X, all of you students look into carefully. When it comes to STCH buffer comma X, the opcode of STCH is 54. I repeat, opcode of STCH is 54. Whereas as it is a indexing addressing mode, so X will be set as 1. And what is the address of buffer? You can observe address of the buffer is 1039. I repeat, address of the buffer is 1039. When you write 1039 in the 15-bit format, when you write 1039 in 15-bit format, 1 will be written as what? 001. Again you will be having 039. Whereas here, as it is indexing addressing mode, you will be setting 1 X as 1. So while generating the object code, you will be taking this collectively, so it will become 9. Instead of 1039, you are writing as 9039. Are you clear with this point? Even we have considered this kind of examples in the previous case studies as well. So this 001, this 001 has become 1001, and it has, instead of it is the address is 1039, it has become as 9039. Is it clear, guys? Did you understand?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you explain again how 1039 became 9039?
Definitely. So I'll write here. Just look into it. See, the opcode of the STCH is 54. So I'll write 54. So it is 5. 5 is what? 01. 01 is the 5. Okay. Then 4 is what? 0100 is what? 4. So opcode is done. Then I told you, as it is a index addressing mode, so X is what? It is 1. Clear? X is what? 1. Then buffer. What is the address of buffer? You can observe the address of the buffer is 1039. How to write 1039 in the 15-bit format? So it is 0, 0, 1. This is 1. Again 0, 0, 0 and 0. This is 0. Okay, is it visible whatever I'm writing here?
Yes, sir.
So it is 3 and 9. So you can observe, I just elaborated 1039 in the 15-bit representation, but as it is 15-bit, so I'll be neglecting the first 0 here and enter the 1039. Now format. So it has become 5, 4, and this complete 4 bits will be considered as 9 bits. Complete 4 bits will be considered as one value, which is 9 and 0, 3 and 9. Now did you get, how did you get 9039?
Yes, sir. Got it, sir.
Anybody else? So that is how you got 9039 instead of 1039. Students, did you understand this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Again, keep going. So again, from this TX max length till here, again direct addressing mode. So the opcode of TX is what? 2C, and the max length, the address of the max length, it is 205E. So it is a direct addressing mode. You keep going like that itself. Again, as I said, for the RSEP, the opcode of RSEP is 4C, whereas there is no operand. Okay, there is no operand. As there is no operand, so the address will be zeros. As there is no operand, the address is zeros. Again, enter the byte instruction. What is the object code for the byte instruction? It is the operand itself. What is the operand here? It is F1. My dear students, if you think practically, this F1 is already in the hexadecimal. When it is already in the hexadecimal, you don't have to find out the ASCII values, because at this point of time, EOF, all those are characters. For those characters, in order to represent in the form of object code generation, object codes, you found out the ASCII of E, O and the F as 45, 4F and 46. But when it comes to F1, F1 is already in the hexadecimal because it is X. I would say F1. It's already in the hexadecimal. What is the necessity of finding out the ASCII? You don't need to find out the ASCII. So F1 itself will be the object code. When it comes to this word 4096, again here, what was the object code for word 0, word 3 and 0? I told you 3 and the 0 itself will be the object code. Here also 4096 itself is the object code, but can anyone of you let me know why I'm writing as 1000 here?
Hexadecimal, sir.
Exactly. So in case of word, the operand itself will be the object code, which is 4096 itself will be the object code, but 4096 in the decimal, which I have to convert to the hexadecimal, which I got as 1000. So my dear students, so for the byte and the word instructions, so the value, the operand value itself will be the object code. Whereas if it is hexadecimal, directly I'll be replacing. If it is a decimal, I have to convert and place. If it is a character, I have to find out the respective ASCII and place those as a object codes. Is it clear till here, students? Any doubts still here?
No, sir.
Anybody else, students? If you do not have any doubts, then I'll go further. So again, taking from here again as usual, from here to here again, direct addressing mode. It is 04 and 1039 separately, E0 and 2079. Where out you can see output is here. Where the address of that it is 2079. Right, so that's what the object code. When it comes to this LDCH buffer comma x, again it is a indexing addressing mode. LDCH buffer comma x indexing addressing mode, where the buffer opcode of LDCH it is 50. I repeat, opcode of LDCH is 50, whereas when it comes to x, in the same way, whatever I had written here, x is 1 and the address of buffer is 1039, which I have to represent like this, and finally it will become 9039, because including this 1 it will become 9039. So the object code you got as what? 509039. I repeat that it has become as 509039. Again, these instructions are direct addressing modes. You have DC is the opcode, and whereas output address of the output is 2039, and it goes like that. Again, R sub, it is only having opcode, whereas the address of the operand is 0 because there is no operand at all. And finally, byte. In case of byte, operand itself will be the object code. Here operand is 05, and that 05 is the hexadecimal. So 05 itself will be the object code. You don't have to convert anything because it's already in the hexadecimal. That's how we generated the object code for all the instructions. Guys, did you understand all the different cases, whatever we discussed in this program?
Yes.
Anybody
Yes,
has
sir.
any doubts? Yes. Yeah, thank you. Anybody has any doubts still here? Yes. So as I already mentioned, the last address is 207A, because 79 plus 1 is 207A, and when you subtract the last address minus first address, we got the length of the program as 107A. Keep that in mind. Students, yes, before I continue, anybody has any doubts? Are you guys understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if that is the case, then I'll go to the last step. What is the last step? It is the object program generation. I repeat, the last step is object program generation. As a part of object program generation, so however, if you remembered, we'll be having a 3 records, which is header record, text record, and the end record. Under the header record, we'll be having H followed by the name of the program. If you observe, what is the name of the program? It is the copy is the name of the program, and the starting address for the program is 1000, and already I told you the length of the program is 107A. How did you get it? The last address minus the first address. I repeat, the last address minus the first address. So that is what name of the program, starting address is 1000, and the length of the program is 107A. So we are done with the header record. Then moving to the text record. So as I mentioned in the previous examples as well, in your object program you will be having a single header record and the single end record, but you may have any number of text records. I repeat, you may have any number of text records. Here I'll be starting with the text record from the first object code. What is the first object code? It is the 141033. So start with it, 141033, and you keep on adding those. What is the address of this 141033? That will be the starting address for that text record. I repeat, the address of the 141033 will be the starting address for that text record, followed by you keep adding, you keep on inserting the object codes into that text record. But my dear students, if you can, anyone of you let me know what is the maximum length of the text record? When I had given the structure of object program, I had given you this maximum length of the text record. How many characters you can have in the text record? Students,
10 to 69, sir.
it is 69. So maximum it is 69, not more than that. It can be less than that, my dear students. It can be 67, it can be 68, 65, 60 also, but it should not exceed more than 69. So you keep on adding. So till here it has become 69. If you want, you can count. It has become 69. If you want, you can count as well. So as soon as you reach to the, as I mentioned again, it can become 68, 67, 66 is also possible, but you can't have more than 69. Keep that in mind. So but till here the first text record is filled up. It has filled up. You find out the length of these. How many object code, how much is the length? That is what this 1e. If you find out, if you can also count 1 2 3 like that, how many bytes are there. So totally there are 1e number of bytes. That's the length of the text record. So after this 00102d, where is that 00102d? Somewhere here. It is what? So till here so all these are put into the first text record. So from here it will become we need to put it in the second text record. That is where you can observe 0C1036. 0C1036, from where the second text record will commence. And what is the address of that? It is 101e. That is what? 101e. So that is the 101e is the starting address for that text record. And again you keep adding. Guys, am I audible clearly? Any disturbance?
No disturbance, sir.
No disturbance.
Okay. Yeah. So even though we have not reached to the 69, but you have to stop, because in your program, so after this 0, so the next instructions are reserve word and reserve byte, which is only memory space allocation. Memory space is, so it's only empty space. So even you need to stop the text record there itself. And you need to find out the length of this text record. That is what? 15 bytes. What is the next object code? Here it is a 041030. So from there again you keep adding 041030, and address of that is 2039. You keep on having till you reach to the 69. I repeat, my dear, again I'm repeating, it need not be 69. So that is the case. You can see, you can observe after this 38203F. 38203F, after this, from here you are taking the next text record continuously. You're taking next text record as continuously, but in this case you can observe 2C1036. Once after you reach to this 2011036, so that text record may not become full. I mean to say, it may not become 69. It may be only 67. Fine, no problem. But you can't divide this and write something here again continue. No, that you should not do. I repeat, maximum length is 69, but in any text record it may become 67, 68, no problem. 66 also no problem. But you should not divide any text record, or you cannot exceed more than 69 in any text record. So for which you need to initialize the new text record. And finally you will be having E followed by the starting address of the program is 1000. That is how there is only one end record and one header record, and there are 5 text records for the given program. Students, are you understanding?
Yes, sir.